lesson, we learned about chemical receptors, mechanical receptors, electromagnetic receptors. These are all different pieces of our complex bodies. And organisms have all of these receptors to sense things about their environment. Today, our learning target is I understand that neurons carry signals to and from the brain. What are neurons? They're actually cells. They're nerve cells that actually alert you and alert your brain, and they carry messages to your brain. So here's one of our key terms today. It is neuron. Say it with me, neuron. It's a specialized cell that receives, processes, and transmits information through electrical and chemical signals. That sounds pretty complicated, right? But what it just means is that it receives information and it sends it using different types of signals, whether they're electrical or chemical. All right, our second term today is dendrites. Say it with me, dendrites. A dendrite is the area where neurons receive most of their information. So if you've ever felt really stressed and something happened, you got in some kind of accident, you forgot something, you're late for something, you're rushing to something, if that happened to you, you probably experienced some kind of stress. And what happens then is your dendrites stop firing so much and stop communicating so much, and you actually can't receive any new information until you kind of settle down from that, until your dendrites settle down from that. Now, if you're comfortable and you're feeling pretty good, you can learn more information because the dendrites in your brain are actually absorbing some of that material and they're sending information to your brain so that you can remember it with different types of memory, right? So an axon is the part of that cell, that neuron, the part of the nerve cell that carries impulses. And impulses are that's just a fancy name for messages. So our notebook looks like this today. This is notebook page 3, you can clearly see. Now, notebooks today, in this section, I don't want you to put a Post-it there. What I want you to do is draw a diagram of a neuron. So when you watch the videos today, you'll see different pictures of neurons. Feel free to pause your video. If you want to hold your paper up to trace your diagram of a neuron, you can. What you need to label on your neuron is the dendrites and the axon. You just need to kind of know what they look like. Or you could just draw it the best you can draw it. If you're not an artist, that's okay. Just draw the picture and then label it, okay? So you can either draw a diagram of a neuron here, or in this section of your notebook, you can describe what a neuron does and why it's important. So remember, when you're watching the videos on YouTube today, this is what I'm hoping that you will look for so that you can complete your notebook page. All right, the next notebook page, let me see if I can move it over here, is notebook page 4. Sorry, I'm going to move this a little bit here. There we go. So, now my computer's right in my face. Hello. Okay, so in our next lab and our next activity, which will be our next lesson, we will be learning about different kinds of ways that our brain actually interprets the information that our dendrites and our neurons send to our brain. So we're going to start and learn about I can explain how information sent to the brain is used. So far, let me review. We have talked about sensory, right? Sensory things. So sensory receptors. So it could be your eyes, your nose, your mouth, right? Your ears. We get information from our environment by sensing things in the environment. Then what happens is we get information because we have things called neurons, which are cells that carry messages to the brain. The brain receives the message, and what the brain does with the message is it changes it into either memories or emotions, or it just discards the information if you already had it. So our learning target is I can explain how information sent to the brain is used. And so in our next activities, we are actually going to get some new information, and we're going to see if this is actually true. So you have 2 kinds of memories that we're going to talk about and that you need to know about. One of them is procedural memory. Say it with me, procedural memory. A procedural memory is a memory involving the acquisition of skills and habits, which does not require a conscious effort to remember the activity. So it's how we remember to do things, like how you remember to brush your teeth in the morning. You don't really have to think about that. You just do it because you've done it so many times. It's how to do it. So if you know how to walk, you don't have to think about how to walk, but you learned it when you were a baby. You know how to do that, how to grab something, how to eat something, how to chew something. How to go around a corner, how to navigate your way from point A to point B. These are all procedural memories. How to tie your shoes, how to put your shoes on, how to get your socks on. Those kind of simple things that you do all the time, those don't require any effort to even think about. Like you're listening right now and you're engaging with some information and you don't have to think about how to do it. You're just listening. Your body knows. The next kind of memory that your brain can create is called a declarative memory. Say it with me, declarative memory. So a declarative memory is a memory of facts and events consisting of information that is stored and retrieved. These kind of things are like lists or your to-do list or a grocery list. They're things that happen that are events that happen that you figure out how to remember them. Okay, not something that happens all the time. It's just a singular thing. Okay, so the notes here today say the brain uses information to create emotions and memories. We really did just talk about that. So you know what makes you kind of feel sad, you know what makes you feel happy, and your brain remembers those things. So let's say if you're scared of something, like you're scared of the dark, or you're scared of I don't know, an animal or a particular situation, your brain, you had that situation, and your brain registered that that situation happened to you. And every time you're in that situation, you feel that same emotion, okay? Because it's attached to a memory that you didn't have a good time with, okay? Or maybe you had a good time with it. So maybe you feel happy when you eat ice cream. So every time you think about ice cream, you remember eating ice cream and you have a happy emotion, okay? Feels good. So memories can also be short or long term, and you're going to learn a little bit about those in our activities tomorrow. So in this section of your notebook, and notice we are on page 4, in this section of your notebook, here are your choices. You can use a Venn diagram to compare and contrast procedural and declarative memories. So you can draw a Venn diagram here, okay, to tell how they're the same and how they're different, to compare them. Or you can list 3 examples of procedural memories and 3 examples of declarative memories. Make sure they're labeled. Make sure you make an effort in here. Make sure I can read it. Make sure it's labeled. Okay? All right, so that's it for today's lesson. Have a good afternoon, morning, night, whatever's coming next.